Hey, let's turn my mic on. That helps people know I'm talking. Whoa. There we go. Okay. No options for that, huh? Okay. Boom. Need a password. It's invite only. Neener. I'll play Skyblock with my wife. A couple hours before she gotta go bed or whatever. We'll see how long she lasts. I need to invite wife. I will invite wife. Invite wife. Where's the buttons? Where's the button? Friends. Invite. I don't want to invite to watch. I want to invite to play. How do I invite her? Oh, right. I gotta use the menu, don't I? I always find that so weird. Okay. There we go. Let's hope blue sky. It's not sent. Everything's Gucci. We are golden. I can this here. Hello. What are you up to? Ow! Why are you whipping me? Why are you whipping me? He's whipping me. Why'd you do that? I remember my horrible idea. God help us all. Gotta pull it off still. You get far. Die horribly. Well, that might already be a ship that sailed. Oh boy, a mining shirt. Well, see, it might be an improvement.
You figured out, like, what we're supposed to do?
I don't know, baby. I'm trying to go down, but I'm not getting enough ore to get anything done, and I need more armor, and I need more offense, and I can't get anywhere because I'm just being swarmed by skeletons and Shellys, and... It won't help you. It won't help you. The Shellys are too strong. There's a mimic.
Mimic.
There's a mimic! There's a mimic and a Shelly.
You bitches. Wow!
Yeah.
Wow!
Down is bad. I don't recommend down. Down is scary. I've been trying to extend the platform to the right so we can jump off and just land instead of roping every time, but,
wow!
yeah, it sucks down there. I got the mining shirt.
I got a grim old farm.
I don't know what that is. It's supposed to be a zombie, but kind of sounds like I'm barfing. You want it?
No.
Put it in here. Look, something I can kill without... Oh.
No.
Oh, dude. It's brutal down there. I guess stick to the first layer where we can get ores for now. I don't know. It's vicious. I was trying to do this so the worms actually have room to live. You know what I mean? I don't know if they drop anything good, but... Oh, yeah, okay. Fuck. Liz subscribed to tier 1. They've subscribed for 6 months.
Nice. Thank you, Lizzie.
Thank you, Lizzie. And there's the OBS alert for the same thing, because I don't know how to fix that now. Yay! Bonk. I bonk. You're welcome, nerds, she says.
Nerds?
He's not on.
You're not right either.
She's a nerd too! Why are you offended? One of us! One of us!
No, I forget. Need to be on the rope for safety. Shit.
I'll save you, mouse.
Safety rope.
How do you do, fellow nerds? I'm alright. It's kind of hanging. Trying to extend my reach somewhat. You know? Seeing how far we can go before everything goes to ruin.
Survive round 1. Bad.
Bad time is what I would describe down there as. And if you fall off, you get to go all the way to hell, so you really get to soak in it. They weren't kidding. There's nothing between us and the bottom. You just fall. Just go down the hole. And you get to feel away about it.
Really?
Shelly's when I'm like, yeah, you should leave. Shelly's bad news. Shelly never goes well for me.
Having the whip is helpful.
I bet.
Whip too.
Probably.
No!
What is wrong?
This is not easy.
Marble slime. That's a new one.
This is not easy. Down the hole you go.
We can also fight up there. There was ore dropping. And you can get more, you can, what's it called? The stuff. Clouds. You know, the wet, poofy marshmallows in the sky.
Wet, poopy marshmallows in the sky.
Yeah, those.
That is definitely what I am going to call them.
You're welcome for your accurate description of clouds.
Oh god, it's a graveyard down here.
Well, that's what happens when you die a lot, yeah. Oh, that's how we get our corruption, I guess.
No, it was a conveyor slime.
Oh, well now you get a conveyor.
Now I have conveyor belts.
Okay, you have conveyor belts. How does that make you feel?
Wrong.
Does that make you horny, baby?
Rubber slime. Oop. This is not easy.
No. No, it's not.
I'm being a coward and hanging out on a rope.
Smart. I am back home for now. I'm gonna plant my mushroom. There it is. That wasn't a euphemism. I have put a mushroom in the ground. Enjoy that mushroom. Singular. Oh. Fortunately, for now, I'm out of dirt. So I might have to go find more dirt. I saw a squirrel. He's doing like this. I think we're catching the animals. I don't know if it's to eat them or what.
I'm using them.
Food and buffs. Gotcha.
Sell them. Stuff.
That's true. Hey, there's a marigold up here too. Shit. If you insist.
It's a graveyard down here.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. That checks out. No one needs to know that. Hi, Spritzy. Oh, I'm walking. Oh, I should watch where I'm going. Die, 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 die.
Kill, die, die.
Ling, ling, into battle, go. Let me throw that, buddy. Okay, give me a second. I'm kind of in a space of less than safety. Hey, there's a black lens, finally. Can't help but notice we get a lot of eyeballs. I feel like there's a lot of... It might just be because there's so little ground that it's just like, yeah, no, it's eyeballs forever. Up here? Yeah, lots of eyeballs up here. And now I said something with pure zombies, so... Whatever, torches and arrows, hooray. Balls. Throw it! I throw it! Here you go, buddy.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Oh, they're all on you now. Like, yay, I'm being left alone! My wife is dying, Piglet.
My wife is dying.
They took my eyes.
You took my eyes. You're not allowed to do Pooh Bear.
Why?
He's banned, and you know why.
Because you're afraid I'm going to make him say swear words?
Do not make Pooh Bear say swear words. Jim Cummings is shining down on you, mad.
Did he die?
Don't think so.
You see my mushroom?
I did.
Hello, did you bring it back? No. No, you didn't. Going for the cardboard, too. Go get it. Yeah, it doesn't flow well. Oh, but he is playing with it, so there's that. My cat. Ladies, here, put these somewhere important. Or not, I don't care. Whatever you want with them. I actually have quite a few banners so far. Please say swears as Pooh Bear where I can hear you. If I'm going to anger my wife...
No!
It is Liz, so if anyone has...
No! No!
We have been vetoed so hard. Oh, bother.
Their name.
Well, the Spritz said no cursing. She's right behind me! She's right behind me. There's your prediction. Enjoy, everybody. Skill issue? Skill issue! So I have to do Winnie the Pooh so quietly that a woman who's like less than 5 feet away can't hear me do the voice. Have it discernibly be the voice while I'm whispering. Like, you have to have a voice in the voice to do the voice.
You are banned from doing Winnie the Pooh.
I do Winnie the Pooh all the time when she's not listening.
I hate it.
I know you do.
The worst.
Why is it the worst, baby?
Because Winnie the Pooh is my childhood. Leave him alone. Leave Pooh Bear alone.
Oh, the beer.
I don't care if you do Piglet.
Well, fuck.
Okay, maybe I do care. No Tigger either.
Well, look who's playing favorites. That's not very good, is it?
You're banned from this house.
Oh, I was told not to swear. Well,
What's the punishment?
the punishment is everyone who voted that I would actually do it, because I'm usually pretty good about it, loses their points. Which is everyone this time.
Well, fuck.
Look, if it was easy every time, if there was no chance I'd mess it up, it wouldn't be worth doing a prediction, would it?
Crazy, why can't I make a chest?
You're the one that saw that and immediately started at. You need iron bars.
I have iron bars.
You need $1 million.
And I have wood.
Do you not? Do you have the thing you use?
Oh,
Yeah. Liz, you were actively trying to promote me swearing. I don't want to hear it from you. You did this.
It's not funny.
It's really funny.
It's not funny.
No, it's great. I love it.
I'm not gonna help you.
Help me what?
Anything.
Okay. I didn't ask for help with anything. I'm going down the hole.
Big bag.
I'm hunting rabbit.
I think you're killing rabbits.
How do you think hunting works? A worm? Well, this is a great way to get fallen stars, I'll say that.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Worm. Rat. So at night, there's just no enemies? What's going on here? They're all following me. Menacingly.
Gosh, there's so many fireflies.
Yeah, I caught a bunch and I tried to quick stack. I think it worked. I have a couple on me now, or something that I found on the way down. But... I limited. Oh.
And
I got 11 dirt, girl. You know you need my help. You need my dirty behavior. Oh no! I might. It's a dart trap. I don't even know where he went. There are just darts coming from off screen.
done.
That's a rude thing to say to your spouse. Why do you want me to die?
Because you a dick.
Okay, well imagine Winnie the Pooh says it.
You know.
Oh boy, more rope. Can't wait to make delicious rat soup.
Can't do anything.
Ritz, I'm not going to go deeper. I will just die, honey. It has not. I had desktop audio layered. I'm sorry if that's been weird. Hopefully now it's okay. Deeper is scary.
Deeper is like we both need to go down and make a concentrated effort.
If that, like the Skelly will just kill us.
Not for a while.
Yes, well, I have also survived for a while on occasion. I also get overwhelmed quickly. Wood. We don't have any wood. What? Oh, did you find all my friends that were showing up? What was it? What did you find? You said, whoa!
Oh, it was like a bunch of times waiting when I came down.
Yeah, they do that. Harvest. Harvest. Oh, hey! There's an upside to graveyard. We can get cobwebs.
I want heart crystals.
Why slime go through wall? Why slime go through wall?
I have no care for a wall. I do this like once.
Why gold sword only hit one thing at a time? Why gold sword not able to hit groups well?
I mean...
Oh, I'm gonna kill the Skelly. It's gonna be the greatest day of my life. He's dead. I killed him.
Whoa! You did not kill the things behind you.
No, I killed the things in front of me. And that was hard enough. I'm about to die.
Back up! Back up! Back up! Jeez.
What's that one?
Oh, cobweb sign.
There's a cobweb slime. Die! Get the money! Oh, I was informed of my expiration. That's kind of them. Yeah, no, it's bad down there. On the upside, with the abundance of gravestones, it turns out gravestones make cobweb. So...
That is not easy. I am barely coming out with the skin of my teeth.
in theory, let's say come right here under the island. Just down a little bit. Just down a little bit, you know. This is kind of a fun thing to do. It's early. It's been a while since we've been this consistently mortally destroyed.
Usually we're pretty good at Terraria.
This is like armor is hard right now.
We don't have enough ore.
Yeah. There's a reason I said we're just gonna do this on normal. I was not thinking, you know what I want to do? Blind Skyblock Master Mode. That's...
No, I can't jump down anymore.
You can jump down, just jump down on the left where all the clouds are. I thought I locked the room. Did I fuck it up? Yeah, no, you're not getting farms easily on this. This you have to work for all of it. That's kind of, it's kind of the situation it creates.
Ooh, I'm going up with my 1 gold. Taking my gold and running. Killed Pinky.
There, put a little cloud spot so you'll be safe if you fall. Forget, okay. What? What? I cushion for you. No dead baby.
I have 15 gold.
Nice. Are you putting it in the piggy bank? Good. No, we get money. I've never seen so much money in my fucking life. It's paying us like we're in hard mode damn near. It's pretty impressive how much money we're... I got another mining shirt. You want a mining shirt? I'm gonna put it in this, I guess.
Oh, it's a worm. Bye-bye, worm.
Oh, they stink bugs outside.
Actually, so.
I catch a stank bug. You're like, dang, that's some stanky bug. And I'm like, yeah. Wood, slingshot. squirrel. Not a lot worth grabbing. Hey, there's a worm.
Dark slime, so narrow that me.
I like when they shoot and then immediately despawn. That's my favorite.
Yeah, he shot 3 at me, and then he despawned. Like dodging arrows and jumping around like a fish.
He's such a cool dude. We need to go look around for tombstones. So there should be plenty of somewhere.
Got the swords and stuff.
Yeah, you did. Oh. I thought I had a tombstone in here somewhere, but I don't see it. Animals, miscellaneous, potions, conveyor belts, blocks. Have them. Yeah. Whatever. More of us will die. Some of us will die. Just go down and get more of those tombs from this scary bottom place. I only was going for it because the cobweb. You know what I mean? Like, oh, a spawning cobweb. We need cobweb. You need it for silk. Silk make bed. Silk make. I mean, plus. Perfectly next to the only way to get stuff like mirrors and stuff on this one. Not that we really need a mirror right now.
I'm still on blue team.
Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Collected 3 more gravestones.
Good job, babe.
I failed because I'm a coward.
I'm not doing great down here myself. Bye. Also, I have no healing on me, apparently. Whoops. Looks like I'm about to eat shit. Oh no! Welcome to the platform of It's Going Well. Oops. Yeah, I get all kinds of stuff, but we're still, again, early game gear because it's hard to get anything right now. Bye. Well, I'm still getting graveyard down here. Right. It's got some range on it then. I hope it's not hitting our house. Have we checked that yet? That's quite a bit of range. Mind you, it's also quite a number of graves, so. No, we're good. We're golden. I don't know what's bundled the cobwebs, though. So let's see what happens. Well, I need more ore, please. Can you give me ore? Or just gel for 10,000 years. That's also fine, I guess. Wood, you shouldn't have.
Oh, it's a cobweb slide.
Oh.
Every time they jump, they leave a cobweb behind.
Oh. Well. I might be dumb. But hey, look, we have a spooky zone already. We usually have a hard time even getting there. Some copper, the worst one. Got some tin, the other worst one. Jesus. Dirt.
Bats are cool.
Yeah. Not really anywhere to hide from the bats on this one. Hi, Milo. What's up, honey? Sure are in a mood tonight. Can I help you? Crushed by a cave bat. I don't know if sucked is the word I'd use down there. It goes south real fast, honey. Problem is there's no time to build a bunker. You get overwhelmed like immediately. I have a hard time even putting a few blocks down before they're all over me. Milo! Okay. Okay, honey. I need to get up on the surface, and I need to put the cat to bed, because he will not leave me the fuck alone. I don't know what he's doing, what he wants. He does get mean to me if I ignore him wrong, so... I'm going up. Goodbye. Fuck. Pay attention.
Get in the house.
I'm trying. Huh? That was my plan. Get in the house, put cat to bed. Milo, go to bed. Go to bed. Don't look at me like that. No. Terrible that crap. Doesn't even look dirty. I just keep smelling it everywhere. Do you have a charger when you're not in bed? Good grief. What's up, girl? Ow. Oh, you got the RPG death noise, that's right. Oh, that's a worm. Being tethered is annoying, yes. It is sometimes necessary to experience joy. Sometimes good girls and good boys need to be on their leash. You gonna get on a leash for me, Liz? I guess it's for us, because I'm streaming with Kaz, huh? That's a 2 for deal. That's double Dommy Mommy. That is. I'm bad at ball. Dog up here. Chewing on the leash. Ooh, a little rebel. Baby, it looks like this one's the girl we gotta break in. And boy, are they in? She prefers dude. She but dude. I try not to struggle with that, but I am, and it's important to remember this.
A dummy.
Dumb. I'm dumb as fuck. Smelting, smelting, what do we have? Can we do anything, or is it feeling bad? Smelting, smelting, smelting.
Holy fuck, no way.
What? What happened?
I found the guy, the skeleton guy.
Skeleton merchant?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's he got today?
Got some roller skates and a bunch of other shit. It's hard to really. That slime dropped a heart crystal. Oh!
Congratulations. Figured it had to be something like that. Well, we have 39 copper. We have enough to make one piece of armor of various kinds. Mostly just helmets.
Oh, he's gone already.
You can also make a heavy assembler for making like a bed or something if you want. It's limited.
I am surviving. I'm surviving.
Nice.
I'm just using all of my gesture.
I'll do her.
Oh no, I'm out of arrows. Run! Run!
I kiss you.
Brought stuff home.
Nice.
Come here. I have stuff.
You have just lots of stuff?
I have stuff. I got.
Okay, I'll come see your drops with you.
Okay.
Here I come. I'm coming, I'm coming. Treasure one! I'm coming, I'm coming.
Well, I'm keeping the deadly bone pickaxe.
That's fair and valid. Have a nice day.
And I'm keeping the forceful bone sword.
Okay.
Like you can...
Well, that is 6. You may as well sell it, baby. That is 6 damage lower than mine. I have a gold one. I thought I had that too. I guess not. All right. I think the other one, the other world had that.
I need to make a yo-yo.
The yo-yo.
I got a purple counterweight from the guy.
Well, it's a good thing we got a bunch of cobweb and stuff now, huh? Excuse me for a moment. Make it count. Hey, you guys want to see something frightening? Your mom. Ha 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 ha. A ghost, a spooky ghost. This is Brother Rajat. He's a spooky ghost. I look like cute teddy bear, but I'm secretly scary spider. There's 110 vine rope. The nightly farming of arrows and whatever the fuck else I do. I like the basically infinite torches I get my hands on from the zombies, though. It's so much murder! Ha ha! Shackle! I think they just increased the spawn rates of stuff that drops things. Hello. Would you like to embrace death? You should, because I think you deserve it. A car. That's fine. Bum. Bum. Kill, 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 die, die, die. Kill, 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 die, die, die. Serenade. Morning is upon us. What will it bring? Another day of unknowns and mysteries. Bugs are a new particle. They're interesting. I didn't think they were part of it. Behavior and stuff like they're an object. Eh. Man. The question is, what would happen if the world was designed by a deeply unintelligent god? I made a flat line. First time it rains, we're all gonna die.
Another life crystal.
Nice. I found another shackle.
Need stars.
Okay.
Like, really bad.
Well,
keeping me alive.
I have been putting... I just did a big fuck up. I've been putting all of my stars in storage as I get them. So...
Oh shit, nymph.
You should not deal with that right now. Got a nurse. Oh, because you have enough HP. Viewers at streamboo.com.
Bye-bye. Another heart crystal.
Good job, girlie. I'm glad.
Trying to help.
You're doing a good job. I am doing my own thing, kind of. Seeing where I can even contribute with what I've got. Mixed bag. I can't make dirt bomb. A small explosion that will spread dirt. Nice. I don't know if that was worth it, but like, did I get extra dirt out of that? Was that worth the trade? I should probably see how much dirt it takes to make a dirt bomb before I make another dirt bomb. That's over 30 dirt, though. That's a pretty nice amount. 25 to get 30. Okay. What if I went over here? Really? All right.
Yeah, there are cobweb slabs.
Oh, it only went up, though. Look, a semi-natural landmass. Just a nice little bit of there's a hill in my world. Just to say I have one. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? Not a good Marvin. I'll work on it. To be fair, I don't think I've ever attempted Marvin. Oh. Okay, so I'm gaining about 5 dirt a pass when I do that. Alright, I'll buy the dye vat for us, why not? Doo-doo-doo. Our housing is now full. Incredible. Hi, baby.
Hello.
How you doing? I see.
That doesn't go in the box. That's all.
I honestly, I might have misclicked the whole deal, honey. I was having a lot of issues. Oh, thank you. I'm now slightly less shitty. Really? We don't have a room for her.
1, 2, 5, 6.
Check your banners.
Yeah, we have a room. She's in the office.
Oh. I love animals, like, a lot. I tried petting this weird-looking fox one time. He so bit me, and now I became like one. Rad. What's your whip do?
My whip is 12 summon damage.
This is 14. I'm spending what's left of my money on that. What about the dye vat? Most useful thing in the mountain and the seed? No. I like it. What? Copy. Ah. Okay. I've added my 8 stars to the box. Apparently it wasn't working because it was in my hotbar.
That's how I was surviving down there.
Okay.
I was using jester arrows.
I know.
And that was
Expensive.
actually...
Yes. But it is expensive. Now, whoa! More iron. Ooh. Dudes. Fucking spawn something. That hit both of us. We are gifted. Did you also get team dye for your pants?
I don't have minor pants on.
Oh. Well then. Yeah, more wood. Woo, more wood. Good news, we got Easter block guy now, so you can get all the Easter blocks you want. Yo, Liz wants me to get wood. Ah! Oh, I try real hard. Oh! Big touchy tots. Lola bunny, Lola bunny, Lola bunny. Got her to laugh. That's a worm. Be when I get wood. You touch me, goodbye. Oh, it's a grind, isn't it? Like, it's interesting, but it's a fucking grind. It's so grindy. It's already going faster just with you surviving down here and all, but that's expensive. It's difficult. I'll bring back up. Get the help, baby. Yeah, that slime's hard to see. He had a swiftness potion. Seemed rude. Shelly. Save the rat. Save the rat. Save the rat.
The mouse.
Save it. And protect. Ran it. Ran it. Ran it. Ran it. Ran it. Ran it. I'd love to see a sand or something, you know? Mud. We have jungle seeds. Mud would be huge. Not necessarily a fun time, but, you know, doable. Right, bitch. I got wise to you. Get bannered. Now you'll die even easier. That's a big sword. Uh-oh.
No.
The banner's hit.
Yes, every little bit helps. I'm getting tired of these fucking cave bats, though.
I need to make a roof.
Nice. Okay, bye-bye, mouse.
There's a bit of a roof. What is that? What is that? It's conveyor slime. It had mad zoomies. Sir, I made a roof. The utter disrespect around here. It's a good thing I work in a standalone structure, because if this boy had to share a wall with neighbors, they would kill him in his 10 p.m. smoothie making ass. 10 p.m. smoothie making. I'm assuming it's not the thickest walls. What did it give us?
Got a mace.
A mace.
Yeah, I know.
The best weapon in the world. A mace. I'm blind. I can't see nothing.
Another mimic.
Blind for a long time.
Oh.
Stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Bleeding shoe spikes. Wow, how helpful. Alright. Shoe spikes at all, but okay. So we're getting something, right? Drop it! Marble. Move speed, I guess, whatever. It's something. It's something. Shelly. A mimic.
Ready?
Bad, 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 bad. What do we get? Nice. Let's run. Run away! Do it. I got shoe spikes. Are you so jealous?
Here's the mace.
Fuck yes. Oh fuck yes. Oh fuck yes. Oh fuck yes. Everybody die. Only me survive.
Here you go.
Can you say 18 melee damage?
Did you light it on fire?
Yes.
You ready to go down back into the fray?
Oh, hey, baby, guess what? I died.
You got a skeleton head?
Do you want a skull?
No.
It's gotta be better than a bucket.
I need more arrows.
But the bucket has hair, and I like hair. You need more normal arrows?
Yeah, I need arrows. And then I need to either light them on fire or turn them into...
There's my arrows. Enjoy. I had a few arrows.
Okay, wait.
What?
You have to see this.
It's raining. I think this is the first time it's rained for us on this. Am I advising you to microwave the boy? Oh, I get it, because the nuclear arsenal. What am I looking at, baby? Sorry, I'm throwing my big hot balls around.
Okay,
Walking fish.
here.
Hello.
Go open the Easter chest. Up there.
Yo,
By the office.
there's fishes. We can get goldfish and turn them into cooked fish. Well, that's a good chest.
Right.
I feel like we need to swap some rooms around, give the nurse the proper office and the zoologist the room with the bunny. Yeah, we could also just start working on making actual individualized housing, but, you know, that's work. Reminds me on the note of work. No. Cloud. You know, that's a decent amount. That might work. That might be something we can get away with. It's always fun when we microwave each other.
Why are you microwaving somebody?
The Limited said, force respect for the saber rattling your vast nuclear... If you're saber rattling your vast nuclear arsenal, which Liz was like, are you advising that I microwave the boy?
Yes. Microwave
Yes.
the boy.
Microwave the boy.
Seems like a pain in the ass.
He just talks a lot. He's, I get what's happening. It's muy autismo. Like, I get it. But, like, oi. Then again, I'm not so muy autismo that I need assisted living, so maybe I don't get it. I don't know. There are limits to my autismo, I guess. You like me calling it my autismo? I think if you kill an animal with a flaming weapon and it has a food variant, it should just turn into that. Muy autismo. Ooh.
Snaps.
What?
Oh, snaps.
What'd you do?
I found a ring.
Oh. Alright, it's worm weather. It's like you find a golden worm. Sounds like a thing you would do.
Oh god. The other day, I
Uh-huh.
was playing on the new update,
Uh-huh.
and I saw something shiny, and I thought it was ore, so I went to mine it, and it was a cool worm, and I killed it. I was devastated.
And that's when Katie killed herself.
I was devastated!
I now understand why you've been so depressed lately.
Oh, serenade, that is not funny!
Then why are you laughing?
Shut up!
It was about you. That's not funny. I love you. I've got double pinky over here. Not so bad. I got fire after all. Look at all my... Just good because I spent all the money on a dye vat, not thinking about the fact that we don't have water. Because you need bottled... Well, I don't have sand either, so I don't have glass and I don't have water, so I can't make the stuff you put the dye in.
Well, somehow if you put a bucket, you can get water.
It's raining! It's raining! Oh, shit! I have the bucket and it's raining!
So put it on the ground.
I can't! I'm way underground!
So get up.
I don't have a recall! I'm walking!
So die.
That's honestly faster to walk. There's not much in this spot that'll kill me. And if I leap to my death, it'll be a minute. I don't know if you've jumped off the cliff yet.
No, I have not.
Yeah, you get to really soak in it. I am trying to figure out how to. Nothing is working.
Just throw it out from the ground.
That's a good idea. A star landed on it.
Leave it alone for a minute.
I wanted the star. Bucket. I did it!
I was right.
Holy shit, we got water.
One bucket.
That's a lot more than no bucket
So make
of
a
water.
hole,
Yep.
dump the bucket, and get more water.
That's literally what I'm doing, love.
Also, I think that water collects now in rainstorms.
I don't know. I think that depends on the seed or event. I'm not sure. Did it work? Oh. Bucket. 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 Bad. I wanted that to work so bad. Do I need to make the whole... Oh, you're already doing it. To say, at some point we're going to want to do fishing, so... Bucket! Exciting. You know what else is exciting? When I click a button to run a 1-minute ad. Haha! You're why not at this situation? Okay, we are going to do an experiment. Experiment run will likely run the rest of the night. Okay, so I'm going to go into my labs. Got 27 more seconds of ads. Look at us get one. I mean, we can make a second bucket if you really want it, but we don't have that much iron. Like, we need to be very, I don't know what with our iron. You know what I mean? I described it so fucking well. I don't know how you wouldn't know what I mean. It was the most well I've ever described anything. That's a pretty good emote. Liz, we might need an evil possum like that. I like that one. That's good emote. Welcome back from ads, anyone that was stuck in ads. Mind you, it says 2 viewers, so... Yeah. I was in here doing something. Right, I remember what I was doing on this. I was trying to turn this down. We're going to experiment slightly. Yes, set the kitchen on fire. Then you'll be unemployed and you'll have to succeed as a pos tuber. We'll become a united front. People will ship us and we'll exploit that for money. It'll be perfect. And then they'll find out we're married and they'll ship our spouses. And then we get to watch our spouses kiss, and you know, that's just kind of hot. Yeah, I'm seeing a downside of this. Ah, shit. None of this is good. Alright, end the round. Too much. Bucket's done. I mean, that's pretty good amount of water to start, right? Oh, it's still raining. It's still raining. I don't know. The music changed and my brain said no more rain. I'm sorry. I'm dumb as hell. Would to remove energy shield and put on range. There it is. Yeah, that should be fine. I'll get those. Yes. Okay. What a weird setup. We'll see how it goes. I've got the perfect plan on how to get Liz and I money and get our spouses to kiss. And
I kiss Mason.
What? I know you'd kiss Mason. We had that discussion years ago. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was before even coming out as Polly. You're like, he's so my type.
Don't say that as wife in here.
Oh yeah, you know what really upsets every spouse in the world, baby? Knowing that their partner is desirable to others. It's the worst. Ooh. Anyway, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to try to get more people to want Kazzie Cat smut. It's just so sad when people are turned on by the things I like. Eesh. Eesh. Worm. He had a lady at work imply she wanted him to eat her ass. That's a little bit more than a smooch. I mean, it's a kind of mouth work, I guess. Usually you go...
Bucket duty?
I don't know, because you kind of took over bucket duty.
Well, you were busy on your phone, stupid.
Well, then I'll take over bucket duty. Mean. Yeah. Yeah, waste your precious fire arrows on scolding me. That's smart. I can make mud! Dirt near water. I can make mud. It's wet and I can make mud.
No.
I can make mud! Mud block. It just takes one dirt. Mud block. I now have 2 mud block.
Wow.
Oh my god. Okay, wait. No, we're on to something. We're on to something. Liz, are you saying the appeal of eating ass is the flavor of shit?
I guess eating ass, I asked somebody one time.
Uh-huh.
Apparently it's like musky. But you want to make sure that they're clean.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to eat dookie. I just don't know how you would avoid eating the dookie. I guess enema? Like, do you really gotta just, like, go for it? I don't know. I don't do enough butt stuff. I'm sorry. Oh, she's saying I can make mud. I definitely got that. That was definitely what I took from it. Casual reminder that I do have the streams marked as for adult audiences for reason.
Talk about eating ass and playing Terraria.
Don't mind us, just Terraria and ass. I mean, I'll draw someone eating ass, no problem. It's just the point where I'm like, I have to understand eating ass as an actual activity I need to do. Hi, Solar. Do you understand eating ass? Welcome to the chat. I think these buckets are filling faster now. Yes, Terraria and ass. Seems legit. What a thing to walk in on. Whoa. I can make an Easter workbench and it's a picnic basket.
I told you that.
I didn't remember the picnic basket. You must not have said it correctly. You gotta talk to me like I'm a Yogi Bear. And then I'll understand when you got a picnic.
I dropped 2 fucking gold.
That's also so legit. I wholly understand that one.
Go. Bye.
I'll be honest, baby. You start walking out of the house, I thought for sure you were a salamander, and I was ready to fight. I was on reflex. I don't know what it is. Your color scheme, like, oh no. Hey, boo, boo, boo. I see you. Hey, boo, boo, boo. Have you heard about this cool new thing called eating ass cheeks? It sounds like it's what all the kids are into. I don't have a hammer. I mean, I can fix that. No. I just can't just call my wife a salamander. Well, maybe I think she's a fire elemental. How do you feel about that? Maybe she's a fire elemental.
Dragon from Fairy Tale, thank you very much.
She's a fire elemental because she's fucking hot.
No, I'm a dragon from Fairy Tale. I'm Salamander.
One time Mason accidentally called me homely and he'll never live that one down.
Oh my god, I would...
Liz! Liz, I just got the best evil idea!
I would never let him down.
Okay, step 1.
Ever.
We get our spouses to kiss, as previously discussed. Step 2. While we're around the corner, or at least in very obvious earshot, we get Katie to say, "So how do I compare to your homely wife?"
Oh. I would never.
I mean, Liz has to be in on it, or it's just really mean. If she's in on it, it's fucking funny. That's the key detail here. I don't want to undersell that. 'Tis very important that she do in fact be in on it. Hey, boo, boo, boo. Don't tell me what the fuck to do. I'll like a kill you. I mean, if we're never letting him live it down. That's my horrible evil idea.
Such a boner killer.
Then you pop out and you say something witty? Yeah, Mason. How does she compare to your homely wife? Mason, hey. And Mason. Well, I mean, she says it too. Like it's clear she's in on it. That's the idea. Never let him live it down, and that, yeah. It can be evil. I'm good at being evil. I don't like how that interact. Oh, rain is over. Bucket back on head, but we got a nice little pool of water.
Jack Shellington is down here.
Yeah, what's he got?
Got lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
Got you a wooden boomerang. I got an extractinator.
Yo, wooden boomerang plus star is extractinator. Really, that's interesting.
Slime dropped it.
Mason, I can't believe you'd actively keep note of who's got the homeliest wife. What's wrong with you? Who thinks about their friends and wives these ways? Plural wives. See, you don't try to get him into the polyamory thing. You just, he just gets roped into it. He just wakes up one day with multiple wives, and you're like, yeah, this is how it happens. That's just, I mean, duh. Haven't you ever watched TV and be like, what? And you're like, yeah, TV. Here, 15 wives. Yo, Bird's here to be one of our wives. I don't think Kazzie would
Where are
complain.
you?
I am on team. You should be able to find me. Where are you? Oh, I am behind. You're behind Minimap. I am to the right of the. I left. I went left off the first thing. Underground, not caverns. We've always had 3 wives. Oh, okay. That's yeah. Then every day there's like one more, and you're just like gaslighting him and thinking it's always been that way. Sorry, gaslighting. That one really made me laugh this morning. I'm sorry. I thought that was actually very funny. Actually, it's pronounced gaslighting. So stupid. I love it. Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
Trying to build a marble biome?
Yeah. Who knows what'll happen on this thing? You know what I mean? I had about 80, so I was like, well, we'll try it. Thank you for the treat. Mommy provides. But I can't call you mommy because you don't like that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's because your mommy was a whore.
Alright.
The tone of voice on that was amazing. Gaslighting syndrome. My mommy is a whore. Is that chicken nugget? No, it was copper ore. Much less exciting. Well, I did use copper to make a hammer. Please forgive me. We have gaslighting at home. The gaslighting at home. It's just lies. It's just normal fucking lies. Yeah, his name's always been Weird Al Yankovic. Didn't you know? Well, my baby marble biome has begun. I don't think anything's going to happen here. But there it is. They're white. Yeah, it is nowhere near enough.
Behold my bone sword, bitches!
Sorry, I thought you said bone saw. For a second, got really excited. Just ask lies why they're white. They were born that way. They can't control. Oh, they can't control their condition of birth. Bone saw. Wait, you almost threw it away? Don't do
What away?
your bone sword.
No, I said, behold my bone sword, bitches.
Oh, hey, I'm getting a lot of ore all of a sudden, and a blink root. Tungsten. Hey, tungsten's worth a shit, kind of, isn't it?
Better than bone.
Oh, you better copper.
Oh, Jack Skellington is back. You have now.
$1 million.
And I don't need that money.
What did he get?
I got the magic one.
Oh, that's the one that light pet, right?
Yeah.
Be more useful and not skyblock, but still a light pet. Yeah. I always like doing that, but I always watch that one movie. It's like makes me feel weird. Yeah. Kind of a little stim thing. It's nice. It's fun. Yeah.
I used to click my tongue off.
Right. I said Fallen Stars and Boomerang. Collect some stars for you, baby. No one can stop us now. 'Cause we are all made of stars. Weird to have a mace and no Hermes boots, though. I'm gonna be honest. I'm used to running around like a dummy. And I am not allowed to jump for 5 minutes.
Oh, you're gonna love me.
Why did you get the no need to jump in? Well, I do have a way around it. I do have a way around it. Okay. Hold on, I gotta get the timer back up. You know what? I'm gonna test something. I was gonna test turning it to 10. Let's see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. No promises? No jumping. If these things had timers on them, that would be very nice of it. Yo, I got a bone sword? That is so much better than the other sword I was using. Okay. Oh, boomerang. What if I made it an enchanted boomerang? I'm getting some fun stuff, I can't lie.
Oh.
What? Oh, more marble. Thank you. Would you like to sell my gold sword for money? Okay. Card that for me, Mr. Bun Bun. That wasn't a jump, by the way. That was a drop. I pushed down. And now you might be thinking, haha. Sarah's stuck in this stupid hole for dumb thoughts. And you know what? You might be right in a worse timeline. But unfortunately, I do have a way out theory. Unless it doesn't work as intended. In which case, yes, I did trap myself. But we're good. Sometimes it fills up really fast. Sometimes it's just like, nah. I don't want to put ropes. I'm just gonna put it right here for now.
Back down into the fray.
All right, I'll be up here making our eventual fishing hole. Though how we're going to get the angler on this one's going to be real interesting.
Oh, the sky bridge.
He has to float in on the ocean. So we got to make an ocean, I think. Really make you work for little Timmy. You right, fucking.
The bone sword is good.
Did you get a better one or something?
Yes.
Nice. How strong's yours?
Mine does 21 damage.
Not bad at all at this point.
Yours is 19.
And my flaming mace does 18, so 19 ain't bad, honey. To me. Not allowed to yump.
Far to the left, you won't be able to get back up. The house. But you
I can get creative. I did buy the squirrel hook, so I do have a way to go up. I just I have to get really creative about movement after that because you have to jump to break a grab on the hook. Unless you hook to an interactable or a block and you mine it or open it or something like that. Like when I hooked to the door, I was able to right click, open the door, and that released me. Otherwise, if I'm on a block, I have to intentionally mine that block to get released from the hook without jumping. Which does mean like something like this. This gets interesting really fast. There we go. And then bop. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha. You're not my mom. So I do have ways to get around without jumping. It just makes it really interesting. On which note?
I got a magic mirror from a mimic.
Dang, nice. That's a good one.
I'm doing good.
You are. I am getting creative. There we go.
Usually I suck at like extra special seeds and things like this, but I'm not doing half shabby.
Yeah, it just takes some figuring it out. It's just to figure it out.
I'm not creative. Try.
I've made a mistake. Oh! Wait, no. Okay. So if I... No!
Yep.
No, I'm stuck in a hole.
Need help out?
I'm just living with my consequences. For the moment. I do have dirt. Okay, hold on, I have an idea. Okay, and if I do that, and I do this... Ha ha! Ha ha ha! Ho 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 ho!
She just threw her arms above her head and cackled.
I solved your riddle, Batman! Look, water. God peed in my bucket. God peed in my bucket. Pee some more. God peed in my bucket. Doing my rain dance, doing my rain dance, doing my rain dance with my 2-frame animation. Doing my rain dance, doing my rain dance. God peed in my bucket again, cause I'm doing my rain dance. Lame. First sing. No. Song. No. Music. Yeah. Yeah, it usually is Batman song on the roll. Sometimes you need a fresh way to do a... Gotta do a fresh Friday little mix-up, you know? Keep the job interesting at the office so you don't get bored. Oh! That was fast. Just pulled a big old, like, loose strand off my sweater, so... Everything fem I own is dying, yay. My newest sweater is the shittiest one because it got a big hole in it the first day I wore it. That great?
Why, yes, I will take a boarding cloud in a bottle.
Damn, girl.
Why is it beating you at the game?
I'm becoming Jigsaw because he's tired of Joker escaping. My wife is actively playing. I am up here dancing in the rain trying to fill this bucket with water.
Go play?
But... Pond.
Right, Otter Cat.
Otter Cat. Pond. I gotta do it. Get full. Get full. Was it filled with lava because I was whipping it? Can you imagine?
Got pinched by a crawdad.
Wow, you should stop that.
Pinched my nipple.
Your nipple?
Pinched my nipple.
Jealous. I want to pinch your nipple. Fun? Fun for me. Oh, why is it fun for you to pinch mine?
Bitch.
Okay, well, I just like playing with your titties, so... I don't need the excuse of someone, quote, squealing like a bitch to want to play with their nipples. Oh, thank fuck I can jump again. Here, let me celebrate. I did it. It was an interesting challenge at points, to be fair. I have to wonder if there's a better way to do this, but... No, I could do. Could do. Mr. Wall, very cute. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, fish. Don't mind me. Oh, that was instant. Let's get more bucket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where'd my bucket go? I'm wearing it as a hat. I forgot to get myself pretty hair. 1. Fill up. Fish, 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 fish. My bucket don't want to fill now. Oh, there's one. Okay, note to self. It's boring. What if I throw a couple? No. 2. 3. Fun hat for me. Yes. Fun hat for me. Bucket. 1, 2. Toss it. Toss it. 1, 2. Toss it. Toss it. Ish.
I just caught a gold mouse.
A gold mouse. Dead fish. Something fish. One. Dude, I wonder if I can just put a stack. I'm just afraid to find out. I mean, I could just test it. I could just grab this one off my head, and I could just throw both out, see what happens, I guess. Or science.
You didn't say it right.
Science. Stions. Symptomons. Oh, you want me to be Oz?
Duh!
I was referencing Disenchanted. Yeah, happening. I'll be Oz for you, though, baby.
You wish for science? I know more of science than anyone in this wretched world of ingrateful fools. My education exceeds your feeble minds. Night, Lizzie. I learned from the sacred mind of Bill Nye, the greatest scientific mind of my age. I know because the TV said so. It would.
Oh, you can put rope on both sides of the... Oh. Well then. I didn't know that. Put rope on both sides of the platform. It just automatically does it. Low-key always finding excuses to build dumb shit. This is just not the most ideal method for time lapse, but hey. Look at it go. Look at it go. Making a big old paw. Make it bigger. And my fish dies. I need to stop doing that. Well. Guess I'm a murderer. Whoopsie.
We donk.
It is working though, isn't it? Even if it ends up not being quite big enough to fish in, it will be a nice little water feature, so. Yeah, that's a fine test. Let's go over here. That gives me an idea. Let's see. Yes. I think that will suit our... Oh, hey, my stack did do it. Okay, so I can just put out a whole stack of water buckets. That's... Okay. Well, that's way easier. Boom. That could be fun. That was nowhere near adequate, though. Nowhere near adequate. Let's turn them back. Oh well. Just don't have enough of them.
Can you throw out a stack of buckets?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I just got that to work, so that's what I've been doing. For the last little bit now. Let's just do some fence. Oh. Yeah. That should be enough fence, right? That should be enough fence to make something loud. There we go. A hammer. And I'm gonna swing it until I'm over here. Fix that.
Lovely. Lovely, lovely.
Meanwhile, she is killing. Put these away because they're bothering me.
And then I'm gonna pour that bucket, and it's gonna be awesome. Oh, I bet I make some shit. It's not so bad. Never quit. It'll always get a little bit better if you keep making the pond a bit wetter. Yeah.
For the record, it's dirt near water lets you do the thing. It lets you make mud. You sack of crap? No. Grr. Grr, I say. Grr, I say. Grr. Heavens to Murgatroyd! Exit! Stage left! Grr, you say? Just trying to channel the Snagglepuss, man. Gotta channel the puss. Okay. Bowl of soup. Grilled squirrel. Bunny stew. Your mom's corpse. What? 8 copper bars. Oh my. Well, we had a lot of tin. Decent amount of iron. A good amount of lead. Think you've been busy. Alright.
I'm just trying to provide.
Doing good, baby. Doing very good. I'm also trying to do what I can, but I got a goldfish. How's that make you feel? Should I save it or sell it?
Sell it.
Okie dokie. Goldfish. It's smiling. Might be a good snack. Goldfish. 8 gold! Not to be confused with the elusive goldfish. I hope that's real. Now, see, personally, I was inclined to shove that in a thing, but I can't make a ding-dang thing for it. That's not real. Not real. We don't have sand, so we can't make glass. Oof. Ooh. Bucket. Any idea how much water you need for fishing to be valid? That'll take a while. Okay. It's a little pond. Enjoy that.
I come bearing gifts.
Nice. What are you bearing, baby? Holly. That's good. There you go. Oh. Oh boy, I can make the sound.
I've made 35 gold.
Hey, I've caught a lot of fish. I also turned our iron into buckets for now. Don't worry about it. You like my bridge? You're disrespecting my bridge, Goat Man. Could you? Oh. Oh, so much water. Also, I made 2 Easter lamps. Hope you like them. I'm trying to make a nice bridge.
It's a nice bread.
Yay. I've also been collecting stars for you. I know you need them for your stuff. I hope that is an aid. And load it up. There's stars in my hotbar. And that's the last bit of this we're getting through. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Head. Rest in here. Natural. Fruit. Okay. Down here and get all this I need. Pray me. Critical to everything I'm doing over here. Yeah. sword spits bones. Who knew? Good job on that one. God damn. Stinking Shellies, man. Acorn, your peach. Make sure you wash your peach. Your peach. Your peach. Like that. It doesn't immediately get chopped, but who knows? I don't need this. You can have it. So over here in the naturals, is this bad? Oh yes. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Okay. When I was a wee one, at least a teenager, Pot Crew is a big part of Newgrounds. My main memory of that, besides thinking most of their uploads were shit, was a video where, as usual, they all had like text-to-speech voices. Oh, Cloud Slime. Oh. Oh, it's Slime Rain, baby.
Okay.
It might be time to fight our first boss. If they'll show. There we go. I just remember the end of one of these things just being... Make love to me. Alright. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Text to speech. Just yes, 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 oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, dot dot, oh yes. Oh. So stupid. Do you like my formative memories? Are they nice and normal for everyone? Oh yes, 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 oh yes. Boy, they're spawning kind of slow, ain't they?
If we hang out together, they spawn faster.
Purple! It felt exciting to me. But you're the one that's always told me to fight away from town, so I went over there. I was over there. You didn't want to be, so now I'm over here. Neat. That's my pond block. One's got torches. Hey, Merlin. Purple. Merlin. Was that a different kind of seed, or is that just grass again? Perfect. Hey, buddy. Yes, you're a good boy. Chai. Fighting slime is. Another pinky. Don't jump over me. Merlin, Arthur. Yes, I am actively under assault, my son. I should get ore and stuff, right? Hello? Rich needs to tell his people to back off. I don't know why I did make them so angry. Hey, Pinky. Oh, there he is. Oh yeah, he's a song now. He's on you. Yo, he fucking hurts. Temporary crowd control. Sarah's about to die. Sarah's about to die. Sarah's about to die.
H.
I don't have any. I have no healing anything. Every time I hit auto stack, all my mushrooms go in, and I have no potions because I don't have any potions. So survive for 10 seconds, and I'll be back. Sorry. Hello. It's cool, dude. I just am running away. Yep, that's gonna keep happening. Sorry. Do you have healing potions?
Yeah.
I've not even seen a healing potion.
I bought them from the skeleton guy.
Oh, well, it doesn't change that I haven't seen them, but it does explain where you got yours. Oh my god, okay. At least it gets the mobs thinned out, which is kind of what's killing me. I mean, he's worse, but... King Slime's been defeated, good job. We now have a slime. It didn't give us the breakdown. I wonder if that's only if we're not on teams together or something. I'm kind of fine with that. I'm pretty sure it's going to be like 80% you. Slime cell? You don't want it?
No.
Okay. Did you get something fun?
I got the slime hook.
Oh, okay. That is pretty fun. Very well. Oh. I such it, do 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 do. I such it, do 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 do. I got a lot, boobity boo. I such it, but I love you. Mm. Yep. Since
Plant the jungle grass seed.
no, I took one. They're not in a box. I have two on me because I got one from that. I have the one from the box with my 100 some odd mud, and I was going to go over to the right where the road ends and start a jungle there if that's acceptable. Thought it would be a decent place for that. Oh shit, ladybugs.
Kill them.
Yeah, I accidentally killed one already. I'm trying to minimize my violence, though. I saw a squirrel, he's doing like this. Might as well fill up my vines. girl. Oh, I have buffs too. I should use any of that. Yeah. Oh, having me give a shit. How weird. Okay. Alright. I want to cross my big dumb bridge. Don't worry about it.
Put up 134 marble.
Oh, that's a lot of marble. Alright. I make something out of that. Hopefully making these things helps us get somewhere else, because I think that's what we're meant to be doing. Making biomes, in theory? There's some shit. Oh yeah, there's some people. There's some lurking. Ooh, slime on a balloon. Thank you for death. Yeah. Take some space. In the future, this means we can start our second town. Second town. You may clap. Also, at some point, get to go down and have an underground jungle, because that's its own thing. We do have to be down past a certain point, right? So, we'll get that started with a little slope downward. Exciting!
Alright, done.
Done for now, you think? Alright. That's fair, baby. Thank you for playing with me. Yeah, I'll wrap up. I'm gonna work my way back to the house first, but I have a big old pile of tungsten ore. So that's nice. I gotta cook that chicken still. Okay. Whatever, that's easy. You see my upstart vine farm? I have the plant fiber cordage, so I'm just using it at the moment. A bunch of vines from that. May as well. No reason not to. That is how we have 522 vine growth. Have a big old stack of marble for next time, I guess. So we'll make that. Hopefully the jungle will grow. Be nice. Supposedly you can stack anything now, so compasses and stuff should stack if we find more. That's cool. Oh, you've already seen that?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. It's very helpful. Oops, Kazzie has lefted. Well, I have grass seeds. I have grass seed. Oh, okay. We're going to. I think animals have their own box. One of these. Star shines
Think I can catch the owl? Oh yeah, we got the lanterns.
Nice.
Because we did the thing. We beat a boss on the Sky Island. That's a pretty good start. That's something. That's got to count for some sort of progress, right? I was going to see what I can smelt. It's always a good spot to wrap things. What can you smelt? That which has been smelt shalt be dealt. You can divvy up the resources later, but for now I can at least take stock. Okay. That's a nice stack of iron. Are you getting that a lot down there or something?
Yeah.
Let's see. It's getting easier as you get better gear and stuff. Well, good news, we can get a glass kiln. I was being half sarcastic. What with all the sand and glass we've got so far? But hey. We'll get there. We're getting there. We've made progress this time, right? Like, okay, we have 30 silver bars, 30 tungsten bars, 58 copper. We can make a full copper armor set, I believe. 45 gold. Oh yeah. Huh. I mostly see blue slimes, but all right. Is that a new one? We're at 48 platinum, 58 cut. Like, we are getting close to enough to make a full armor set of something for one of us. Probably you at this point, since you keep going down there. So I'm not loving the 38 damage every time the guy touched me. But hey. For now, we'll save and exit. And, bid the chat farewell. I'm going to go bake some chicken before bed. A nice normal before bed activity. The only time to be nice and quiet, because Katie's got to sleep for riding tomorrow. Honestly, I might sleep too. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that was nice though. Look at that. We beat a boss. That's, I mean, kind of further than I thought we'd get at this rate. Beat a boss. We got some ores. We started building a jungle biome and a marble for whatever that might give us. Have a graveyard, so we have ectomist already. It does not feel good, but is huge. And so yeah, that's a bunch of stuff knocked out actually. I still don't feel brave down there really without her, but she's getting it, and that's getting us stuff. So good. We're getting somewhere. Yay! And I built a pond. We got water. Excuse me, we got water. I don't know if it's enough to fish properly yet. I haven't tried it. There's normal maps on the clouds. Excuse me? Did I imagine that? Hello? Show me again. New moon. Of course there's a new moon. I'm trying to look. Show me again. Show me the sun. Show me the sun. Holy cow, there are. They're like kind of well made too. But it's only at like dawn and dusk. Oh. But they are. The trees do it too? Huh. Well, these ones don't, but that's cool. Oh, you can see the moon actually reflects off them too at all times. Kind of. That's sick. Awesome. I love that kind of crap. That's wizardry to me. Okay. Right. So we also saw that. Neat. Look at it go. That's cool. That's new. That's very, I love that. Okay. I'm gonna go. Thanks for hanging out with us, every pony. I hope you have a lovely day. I don't know if there's anyone to raid with all four of you. Let me see who's around. It's, well, I mean, Bunny's playing again. We can raid Bunny. We can raid Bunny. Screw it. Let's raid Bunny. I'm gonna raid Bunny. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be a good raider. It's gonna be so fun. I'm so good at my job. I am the best. I need to hit the button. There we go. There we go. Raid. Oh wow. Oh, I can raid other people playing Terraria if that's more of interest to people. Well, dang. Some people have been up for a while. Hmm. This guy's making a whole house. That looks interesting. Um, this guy looks early on, and their name is Nice Bacon. Let's go with the guy with the cool house. There you go. Enjoy. I did it. Bye.